This is Between Hooksets. I'm Jason Walter from In Through the Outdoors with my partner in slime, Kurt Underhill from the fishing crew.
What is going on, buddy?
I don't know. I thought that was a pretty good hook set.
Yeah.
You know, I got it.
It's different when I got to dodge it than rather than watch you.
Yeah, you should be netting for me. That's what you should be doing. I mean, I'm the only one that's hook setting. I don't know why you haven't started the hook set with me. Can you imagine if we hook set it in unison?
I'd throw my shoulder out.
Well, I keep your shoulders low and you'll be just fine.
No, tonight's going to be a lot of fun.
Night. Yeah, I want to pop this up before Mark gets on because if he sees it, he might be disappointed. But I had to have some pictures of Mark. There he is holding up his trophy. I mean, the Between Hooksets logo. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. Other than that, yeah, Mark Quartz is going to join us here today. And I'm not quite sure what happened here with the picture, but we'll bring him in here real quick. And he's in one of those weird spots, and he's supposed to be getting in a little better area. So we're excited to have Mark Quartz join us here once he gets into a little bit better position. Mark, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing great. In typical Mark Quartz fashion, he is on the road traveling to the next thing. When do you slow down, bud?
I don't know if I slow down before typically it's like January 1st, and then we just roll into sport shows and keep rocking and rolling. So, it's part of the industry that I really love, being on the road and really talking to people and fans of the sport, whether it's working for sponsors or whether it's, at a tournament or just out in the fall. I mean, even as much as I do hunting up where you guys live out in South Dakota in the fall, I still enjoy talking to people about fishing.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Candle jumped in and said, let me be the first to congratulate Mark on his announcement today, the newest outdoor TV show host. Like you didn't have enough to do, buddy. Congrats.
Thank you, guys. Really, honestly, I'm really looking forward to taking over. I'm very thankful that Steve Panaz gave me the opportunity to take over Lake Commandos. The show's been running for 13 years, and I've been a host on the show every year, or I guess part of the show every year since it started. And so it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of sponsors in common, so it was pretty easy takeover, and really looking forward to working with Chad Cool, the producer, and Lance, our camera guy. Lance has been with us a long time too. So it's just kind of been one of those seamless takeovers, and really looking forward to it. And we're going to get out to your guys' neck of the woods and definitely share, some of your guys' great fisheries out there.
You got to come to a Casca.
I was going to say, that's like, Steve did a great job with that show, but there wasn't much out this way.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely coming to a Casca. I can promise you that. I mean, that's kind of my second home in the fall, whether I'm up in Gettysburg or down in Casca with the Schilling family. They're like a second family to me. So, yeah, love everybody out there. And, I might just have a co-host out there, somebody you guys know really well that used to have a TV show of his own. So I'm looking forward to that.
I don't know if you want that.
Well, I'll pop this up from your Facebook page just because I printed it real quick. You can't see it because you're driving, so don't even look down. But this is the post that Mark put on his Facebook page today, all about the Lake Commandos and moving forward. And you can go check that out at Mark Quartz on Facebook. So that's a pretty cool thing. Congrats to you.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And it really is just going to be an extension of what I do every day. I mean, I'm one of the few guys that does multi-species, whether we talk about freshwater, whether we talk about saltwater, whether we talk about bass, walleye, salmon. There isn't a fish I don't like to catch. And the funny thing is, to me, the tug is the drug. And so whether it's panfish or sailfish or marlin, for that fact of the matter, I love to catch everything that swims.
Oh, I've got it. Hang on.
We got a question already. What's your favorite new Berkeley bait?
Probably the drip minnow and the drip swimmer. It's just a bait that works really well wherever we go. The other one, by far, has been my go-to all year long is that new Finisher 10, which is going to come out this fall. We've been testing it heavily everywhere we've been. I tested it in Alaska. It caught a lot of big walleyes. So yeah, that Finisher 10 is definitely going to be a mainstay on the deck of my boat. But the drip minnow and the drip swimmer are two that never leave the deck either.
I had one of my Gov Cup guys have a couple of those, lucky enough to get a couple of those, and I hadn't seen one, and I was in his garage watching you guys weigh in Dunkirk, and he goes, yeah, that Finisher 10 was like the key bait in the Gov Cup. And I'm like, let me look at it. And I look at it, and there's like no paint left on it. Like it is hammered. Like he's like, it is. I go, what? Drink it down the highway? And he goes, no, they smashed the thing.
They do. I mean, it matches so many bait fish. It's a bigger profile to the number 9 Finisher, but it gets down there, especially when you're fishing those treetops and things like that. And it's just a bait that you can work subtly and has a lot of action. And it's just something that they're not typical to see. I mean, as you know, there's a lot of glide baits that guys use out in your neck of the woods. And this is just something a little bit different, has a little bit different action. And a lot of times that's what triggers the bites.
You have to fish it a little different too, right? There is a kind of a certain sort of way of using it.
Definitely not your typical cadence that you'd work, a typical glide bait with, where it's a real heavy rip. It's more of a pop, and this bait, I mean, you can get really aggressive with it and walk it, 8 to 10 foot side to side if you really want to. But for the most part, it's literally just giving it a pop, 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 and you can. I literally watched me and Traver Deagle during that AFCO event there in Alaska. We're fishing that bait, and it's absolutely amazing the action that bait has and how those fish react to it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They almost react on the stall after the pop pop or the pop 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 or just a single pop rather than anything else. Yep. It's crazy. I've been using it in the tail race, and I finally figured it out. Once I got the feel for it and got that last pop pop as it's moving around that eddy, and then it's smack, game on.
Yeah, that's definitely the deal. And, it's amazing. We're also used to fishing certain glide baits, and you can go on and on about names, but it's just totally different. And it was something that I kind of picked up, but Dan Spangler, the actual designer of the bait, really kind of designed that cadence and had perfected that cadence while testing it. And so we've all just kind of built on that. And yeah, it's definitely a great bait. We were just out at Erie, out in Dunkirk, and I'll tell you what, those fish, the way they reacted to it was absolutely amazing. So a lot of fun. And it's just a bait that's always going to be on my deck.
And really for right now, it's an only one. It's a one of a kind. You got nothing else like it. I think, is it Walleye Nation Creations that's coming out with something that's like it, but they say they didn't borrow or steal from the Finisher. It's not the Finisher. It's completely.
Yeah. I don't know.
We all seen that, and I think we all know where it came from. So, yeah. But no, that's just part of the industry. That's part of the industry, right? I mean, it's going to happen no matter what. So it is what it is. We're just the first to design it, and Dan designed it. And I'll tell you what, we aren't stopping there. Dan's got a lot of things in his brain that, continuously just absolutely mind boggle me how that guy does what he does. But he comes up with some of the coolest ideas, and I'll tell you what, we aren't stopping. There's some really cool things coming down the pipe.
Yeah, we've tried to have him on the show, but he's so doggone busy as a dad in the hours after work that we just can't get him on the show. But I'm just going to keep begging.
Between that and metal detecting, I don't know when that kid sleeps. I honestly don't think he does sleep.
I don't think he doesn't. I still am trying to figure out. I'm like, Dan, where in the hell do you find these spots that you can go dig? Because he's constantly digging awesome coins and awesome treasures, and it's hard to find that kind of thing. So I guess he's just built for building baits and coin chasing. It's awesome. Yeah. And like you said, how does he come up with these things? I honestly think he just looks at old maps and just says, man, I think there was something cool here back in the day, and I'm going to go try to dig. And it's amazing where he finds these things. He's not afraid to dig either, and it's paramount. It's a big deal. You talk about Berkeley baits and Dan Spangler, and I popped up a picture of the shallow money badgers that you had on your Facebook page here, I think a week or two ago. And I talked to Dan about a year ago, and like, dude, if you just had some shallow money badgers, I'd be doing a jig. And he goes, just be patient, they're coming. So I'm excited.
I was absolutely so bummed out when I got my first shallow money badger after we were there this spring at Sharp, because I literally was trolling anywhere from 3 to 7 foot of water this spring and had a really good tournament. And some of it was on money badgers, but I had to run them really short. But once I got that bait going to La Crosse, I'm like, man, I wish I would have had this a couple weeks ago at Sharp, because it was deadly. I mean, that bait, honestly, I've got it in my hand at La Crosse and literally couldn't keep the fish off of it. And then I filmed a show here a 3 weeks ago on bass, and they ate it. So no, that's going to be another bait that's just always there. The money badger has a unique action. It really hunts, and it's an erratic action that just triggers fish strikes. And now that we've got that bill design where it's really going to deflect, it's kind of a circuit board bill design, and it deflects really well off of cover and structure. So whether it's gravel, whether it's rocks, whether you're pitching the banks, or whether you're trolling, some of that structure where you got some, timber down there, some of the flats down south, up here there, that bait's just going to be deadly. And we've got some really good, cool colors that are just dynamite. So no, looking forward to getting that bait out again in the spring and doing a lot more with it.
I think it's got an amazing rattle chamber too. It just makes it makes an awesome noise. You can feel the noise in your hand. And the one thing that I've noticed though is it makes a lot of noise. And if you're fishing a spot, especially on shore, you can overdo the money badger. You got to take a break from it and stop making noise. And when you come back,
yeah,
they are on. They'll snap on it.
Yeah, and one of the things that's really unique about it is the castability. That bait casts a long ways. It has kind of a weighted transfer system almost, but it's really weighted well, and it really has a great search action. So for guys fishing offshore, it's a great bait, but also out in the boat, whether you're a troller, whether you're a caster, that bait's going to be a staple for sure.
Oh, it is. Yeah, you can cast that thing. I went to a Revo X, and I can cast that money badger a country mile, and that's the 6 1/4, 6 3/4. I don't use the 7 1/4 that much, and I don't use the smaller ones, but 6 1/4 and 6 3/4 are money for walleye in the fall.
Yeah, that's probably my mainstays, honestly, when you talk about them, is that 6.25 and the 6.35 or 6.75. They're the right size, but I'll tell you, a lot of those fish on Sharp do like those smaller baits, and that number 5 is going to be a great bait for trolling up shallow. And as we know, those fish on Sharp like to be shallow, so it'll definitely be a great bait out there.
So yeah, Berkeley, I can't even put words into what Dan Spangler, that mad scientist he is, of coming up with these weird things. But let's get into your history. You've been at this game for how many years, Mark?
This is year 27. Year 2026 will be year 28. Fishing professionally. I've seen a lot of circuits come and go, whether we talk about NAWA, whether we talk about the PWT, whether we talk about FLW, and then the original NWT and now the current NWT. So, and fished MWC back in the day with my father. Fished the Minnesota Tournament Trail way back when with my dad. That's kind of how I got started, and as you know, there's a lot of father-son teams and a lot of family teams that fish your circuit. That's really where it all started for me. The passion started at a young age with my grandparents and my parents. I was lucky enough to grow up on a little lake south of St. Cloud here, about 15 miles. Didn't have a ton of walleyes in it, but had really good fishing, whether we talked about bass, smallmouth. But I was just addicted. And the funny thing was I was allergic to fish my whole life. Me and my my mom cannot eat any skin fish. And I and I said, I'm either going to hunt or fish. And she kind of laughed at me. And I said, well, that is what it is. I mean, that's what I live to do. And that's what I was born to do. And I graduated from high school and moved to Saskatchewan right away and started training dogs up there. And then left Saskatchewan and moved to South Texas, lived on the King Ranch in South Texas, guiding and training dogs down there, and then came back and managed a hunt club up in Hayward, Wisconsin, the whole time fishing. And it just turned into something. And finally back in, I think it was like 1998, there was a NAWA event down in Spirit Lake, Iowa, on East and West Lake, Okoboji. And I fished that whole circuit that year and had a really good tournament, and Pure Fishing came on board that very first tournament, and I've been with them ever since. So yeah, as long as I've been fishing, Pure Fishing's been a part of my team. They've been a huge supporter of me my whole career, and I really look forward to, continuing on with those guys. And, I've been with a couple different boat companies, and most of those changes were due to changes in the industry, whether we talk about, I was with Evinrude for, I guess, 17 years of my career. And I was with Lund starting my career, and Lund got bought out by Brunswick. And I went into the office with Larry Levold, the president at the time, and we sat down, and he said, let me tell you something. You've got a long career ahead of you. And he says, there's 1,000 boat companies and there's only 3 motor companies. He said, I think that's about all I need to say. And we shook hands and left on really good terms. And at that time, I had the opportunity, one of my very first sponsors at Berkeley, Steve had moved on to Yamaha and then moved on to Ranger. So he was down at Ranger, and I left and went to Ranger and was Ranger Evinrude until 2017. And ever since then, I've been Skeeter Yamaha. And that all goes back to, even then, it was an industry change. Things weren't looking real good at Evinrude, and there'd been some serious changes over at Bass Pro, and had bought, or I guess Johnny Morris had bought Ranger, and Keith and Randy, which are very close friends of mine, personal friends of mine. And Keith and I used to fish tournaments together, and they didn't have a boat built at the time. And one of my old bosses from Ranger, Joe Barrows, had sold his dealership and took over the Skeeter rep job and asked me to come on board with him, and I've been there ever since. So that's just a little backstory on how I got to where I'm at today. And it's been a long road, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I've worked with a lot of good people, and that's one thing I'll tell anybody that wants to get into this business: never leave on a bad term with any of your sponsors, because you never know where they're going to be tomorrow. And that's honest God's truth. I mean, I can look back at my career and tell you that 5 of my sponsors probably today were people that were with different companies early on in their careers. So it's worked out really well for me. And the biggest thing is staying busy and promoting your sponsors the best you can and doing everything you can, and not saying no to, whether it's, back then it was written articles, and now it's podcasts and TV show appearances and appearances for sponsors and open houses and doing seminars at a dealer somewhere that you don't know anybody, but going there and meeting people, it's a good deal.
Well, and that's one thing, like we run into you every year at the Bassmaster Classic. It doesn't matter if there's a show going on, I'm probably running into Mark Kortz. I mean, that's really, we took a picture down at the Bassmaster Classic, Chris Philman and, Eric and Tom and myself, and like the only walleye guys here. And I'm like, well, Kortz is upstairs, but that was the only walleye guys in the whole building. I mean, there was nobody else there, but you're at every one of these events. I mean, I don't know a show you don't hit.
Yeah, there's not many. I mean, especially here in the Midwest, but I'm always at the Classic, wherever it's at, working for sponsors. Typically, I'm at ICAST. This year I took off. Not being at ICAST just due to some other conflicts. But yeah, normally I'm at pretty much every big show or any show across the country. And it's wherever my sponsors want me to go, I get on a plane or get in my truck and drive. So, and I just enjoy going to new areas and talking to people and just watching the enthusiasm of new anglers or veteran anglers. I mean, for example, I had a guy at Erie had just retired from being a sheriff for 23 years, had never really jig fished at all. I got him up on my bow. I said, we're going to make this work. And about, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes into it, he was giggling like a little school kid and said, this is the funnest thing I've ever done. So, and that to me, like, that's what makes me smile every day. When I owned my salmon charter business over in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, same thing, you know, watching young kids reeling a 20-pound salmon, it doesn't get any better. And I think from a guide standpoint, that's why a lot of guides do what they do. They enjoy doing that exact thing, watching people catch some of the biggest fish they'll ever catch.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things that make me smile are the nostalgic pictures on the internet of you. There's one with you from Evinrude. You I don't know if you can look down quick. You don't have to look at it because you've seen the picture. Yep. You've been there before, and then we've got this one as well. Another Evinrude jersey, and I don't know if you can tell who is in the picture with you or not. It's probably pretty small for you.
That one there, no, that one there was actually a military appreciation event. When I was with FLW, we used to do a military appreciation event after every tournament, and that was one of those events there. So, yeah, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I met so many great people. I have a lot of friends actually from the South Dakota Guard that I met throughout the years. And yeah, it's just the relationships you make in this industry are it's unimaginable. I mean, people can't understand the amount of people we meet and the great people we meet, you know, whether I talk about the Hineses or whether I talk about your good friend Benny Spies. I mean, we've had more laughs and giggles and,
you know, we had to pay
famous, right? yeah.
He said every time his name is said on the show, wants credit, wants paid.
Yeah, for sure. Don't worry, I'm his personal photographer anytime we're hunting.
Oh yeah,
oh, nice.
And it's you haven't had a video in 4 below with your hand. He's like, sit in my pickup. It'll be warm. I couldn't feel my hands to push the button after take 592.
Exactly. Oh, wait. Wait. One more.
Yeah. Different angle. Go over here.
This into the picture. Hang on.
That's too much work for me. It's way too much.
Do I look all right?
Yeah. So all the years of you doing tournaments.
Do I need some makeup?
So all the years of you doing these tournaments, fishing all these different circuits, let's get into the good, bad, ugly of, you know, back in the day to now. I mean, because we all know
I've had this conversation here in the last. Yep.
A lot of controversy over the new schedule.
Go ahead.
There's been a lot of controversy on all tournament levels in the last couple of years.
For sure. And, you know, I've had this conversation over the last month, I guess, with a lot of different people. And, you know, if we look back from where we were back in the early 90s to early 2000s when we were, you know, fishing championships for $500,000, and on the bass side they were fishing for $1 million, and our entry fees were less, and there was a few more sponsors back then. If you were doing your job, there was a lot more opportunities. And you know, it's crazy how the industry has changed, but it's just ever changing. You know, getting to the schedule for next year, it's disappointing. You know, I've been doing this, like we've talked about, a long time, and you know, the thing that's disappointing to me is that we have so many great bodies of water that we could go to. I mean, you know, supposedly we were supposed to go to Bismarck this spring, and then they realized that their permit was only for 100 boats, and so they switched it going to Sharp, which Sharp's a phenomenal body of water. That had nothing to do with what I'm saying here, but that would be a great place to host a championship. But instead, we chose to go to Sakakawea for the championship next year with 40 boats. Like, there's so many good bodies of water that we could go to with a 40 boat championship that would fit the field better. You'd be able to get, better, I guess, photography, video, all that when you have a 40 boat field in a smaller area. But we chose to go to Lake Sakakawea, and the problem is with Lake Sakakawea, we can run 100 miles there. I've literally ran 130 plus miles there at Lake Sakakawea in the past to catch fish. So it's frustrating to me that we leave so many bodies of water out of it. I don't want to be negative about it, because it's not that it's a bad schedule, but if we're going to the same body of water twice, and not only twice, actually the same body of water 3 times in the next 9 months, there's something wrong. Like, well, I get it. There's a lot of people there that love to walleye fish, so that's fine, and I'm fine with that. But you go to these smaller communities. I can remember going to Beulah Hazen. I can remember going to Bismarck. The arena's freaking packed. We drive through for the weigh-ins in the fall, and you're throwing out hats, you're throwing out lures, you're throwing out stuff to the kids. And the arena's packed and the place is magical. And I can remember being up in Houghton Hancock. Same thing. We were on, I forget what the university is up there in Houghton Hancock, but we were on the ice arena driving around with our boats and trucks. And that's what the sport is about, going to these different communities and teaching people about their fisheries. And it's right now, it's more important than any time to get more people involved in our sport. And that's the only way we're going to do it, is to spread the word, to different communities about their fisheries, and teach people how we break down a body of water. And whether we talk about lake commandos and me doing that every, during every show, or whether we talk about it during a tournament, it's amazing. If you would have told me 5 years ago that I wouldn't have had a trolling rod at Lake Erie, or I wouldn't have had a trolling rod at Huron, I would have laughed at you and said, you're crazy. But that's the fact of the matter right now.
Well, and you think of this, okay? We had a guy that said you're living in the past. No, we're not living in the past. You're right. Otter Tail was an amazing championship.
Oh,
it's small.
Absolutely.
It's, stuff like that. Devils was a great championship. But then you go to Dunkirk, you're going to Green Bay this year for the championship, Sakakawea this fall. They're huge. You don't need that for 40 boats.
Yeah, honestly, how about this? How about set up at Dunvilla and fish Crystal, Lida, and Franklin? Boom, championship.
Yep.
I'm joking, Mark, right? But there are just so many other lakes out there. It would be fun, because for me, when I look at the schedule, I look at it and I go, boring. I hate to say that, but boring.
And it's, the last few years, and I've always said this to people, if you think about it, like, when people talk to me about running tournaments, I'm like, you come to South Dakota and we have, 500,000 population, we probably have 100,000 walleye fishermen. Well, you go to Lake Erie and you have a couple million people and, probably 500, 750,000 walleye fishermen. It's easier to draw anglers at those places. You have more of an audience to draw from. So I get why we do it, but how many events do you guys do on the Great Lakes? It's like every year you're going to at least one, if not two, Great Lake bodies of water. And this year you're going to 3.
Yep.
Well, and it was a struggle here to get that 125 boat, minimum. Isn't that the deal with the National Walleye Tours, that 125 boat each tournament to have the no pay championship?
Yeah, to have the full payout at the championship. It's still going to be a no-fee entry championship, but obviously the payouts are going to be reduced because of the field size this year. And I don't know, the schedule this year was good. The fisheries all fished really well, but you can't go from as far west as we go, where we started at Lake Sharp. I mean, that's about as far west as we've gone in a long time to as far east as we go, and expect those anglers to do that. And one of the things that we ran into this year, not only are you asking those Western anglers to drive 90 some hours doing it, that's 2 weeks worth of work, and they haven't even put a day on the water. That's just drive time. And I'm not saying that we should do that to the east either. But if we really want to do it right, I guess I would say let's do 3 east and 3 west. And us guys that do it as a full-time job, we fish them all. And that would solve the issue of travel, right? I mean, that would get some more people involved. But there's still the aspect of why we are leaving these other lakes that we know are great fisheries, whether we talk about a bull shoals, whether we talk about, I mean, there's a bunch of lakes down south that we could go to that we haven't been to for a long time. You got Lake Audubon, you've got Bitter, you've got Waubay that would be great for a 40 boat championship.
Right.
Right. You've got Big Stone, you've got Traverse, you've got Leech, you've got Mille Lacs. Now all of a sudden this fall we can keep 3 fish. So now that opens the door there too. I mean, like, so, you know, Red Wing's another great fishery in the fall that we haven't been to for a long time for a championship. And that fish is, you know, a lot smaller than like a Sakakawea. And the problem is that when we go to these big bodies of water, there's no blow days built in. So we've been real lucky this year going to Lake Huron and going to Lake Erie and not having a blow day. I mean, because we all know you could go to Lake Erie for 6 days and probably sit on shore 4 days. And that's always the risk you run. So that's one of the things about the Great Lakes that's always an iffy thing. But if you look at next year's schedule, we're doing 3 bodies of water. And I don't care what anybody says, Lake Sakakawea and Lake Oahe are 2 very similar bodies of water on the same system. So that's 1 body of water that we're going to. Then we're going to Green Bay twice. We're going to up north. We're going to Big and Little Bay to Knock, which is a great fishery. We haven't been there for a long time. I was really, but within a month, we're going to Oconto. So unless they make the rules where it's Michigan waters only for that early tournament in June, and then July, it's Wisconsin waters only. That's the only way that it makes sense, because otherwise I can tell you the last time we were in Oconto, which was last year, we all drove to Big Bay. So we'd be going to the same body of water, you know, same spots actually, in a short period of time. So it's just frustrating.
We all know that the talk of, you know, the unlimited pre-fish. So you can't tell me there's not guys that are just going to camp out. The few guys that can camp out and spend a month on Green Bay.
100%.
You know, I mean, so it just blows my mind. You would even, I mean, doing the same in the same schedule, let alone back to back, is just baffling to me. And, you know, like going back to this year's schedule, came to Sharp. It was fun because look at our, you know, if you watch, the co-anglers was a struggle this year. Money, entry fees went up. I mean, there's live scope happening, all the different things that are happening in the industry that are probably all somewhat contributing to the amount of co-anglers. But you got to Sharp and live scope didn't matter. You went to La Crosse, live scope didn't matter. You know, and guys were fishing again.
Yep. And honestly, I can tell you, I mean, this is me personally, but I want those guys involved. That's an extra rod that I don't typically, you know, when I'm out pre-fishing, that's a rod I don't typically get. So I have those guys standing right up by me. I want them to be a part of the team. I mean, if they can catch a fish, that's good on me. Like I'd be the best net man in the world. You can catch all 5. I don't care. We're a team for the day. So why do I care?
Yeah.
You know, I give the guys the same equipment that I fish. I give them Fenwick World Classes. I give them Revo reels. I give them the same line, same baits. Like, I want them to be successful with me. I also have a live scope in the back of the boat, and I get that it's very difficult to be in the back of the boat with live scope or a Mega Live 2. I get that, because I'm up on the front moving at anywhere from 1.8 to 2 miles an hour, covering ground, trying to locate the right fish, passing up a lot of fish just to find the right ones to make a cast to. And so it's really difficult to be in the back of the boat, but I want those guys up by me. And the last 2 tournaments, both have been on Great Lakes, and my guys have stood on my left-hand side the whole time, and I've allowed them to catch fish. And I mean, that's what it's about. And let's look at it from an expense wise to the co-anglers. I get that it's expensive. Okay. I'm not disagreeing with that, but you tell me where you can go for 2 days with some of the best anglers in the country. And I'm not calling us the best, but just some of the best anglers stand on their shoulder, what they're doing, learn what they're doing for $650. A guide trip now anywhere USA is anywhere from $600 to $800.
And I tell everybody that, and like,
and you have a chance to win 10 grand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I tell everybody that's 100%. It's the cheapest guide trip you're ever going to get in your entire life, with the potential to win money. I've talked to a lot of guys that have wanted to do the co-angler stuff, and I'm like, if you have the mindset that you're going to win a tournament, you're going there for the wrong reasons. If you have the mindset that I'm going to learn with the potential of winning money, you're going to have the best experience of your life.
Correct. And the other thing you got is that, honestly, I mean, yeah, Corey Heiser, a great friend of mine, he does an electronics seminar on the water, and his half-day electronics seminars are like $450. Well, now you get to sit right next to the guy. He isn't going to hide nothing from you because he's trying to win a tournament. He's willing to answer questions for you. Granted, he's concentrating, so, it might be broke up a little, but if you ask him a question about why he's doing what or what he's doing, or just watch and pay attention to how he adjusts his screens or how he, presents a bait, or all sorts of, why he chose a bait, one bait over another bait, or why he has 3 baits, different baits, or 3 different weights up on his deck. There's all sorts of things that you can learn and take advantage of doing that as a co-angler. And like I said, it's one of the best learning experiences you could have.
Yeah, if you're serious about fishing, you truly should fish as a co-angler in an event or 2, if not 3, if you can.
Yeah,
and that's
let's be honest. Let's be honest. Tom Wynn is one of the best forward-facing sonar fishermen around, and he is literally given up everything he knows to teach people more about the sport, and that's what it's about. And that's what we want to do with Lake Commandos. I mean, we're going to break it all down. We're doing a couple different things, now with Lake Commandos. We're just really breaking down a day on the water and how we break it down. It might be one bait in the morning. We might be up shallow, and as the day progresses, we might be out deep. But we're going to show you how 2 anglers together break down a body of water and try to really put the pieces of the puzzle together to try to catch more fish and make you more successful on the water.
Yeah, and that's a big deal. Honestly, I'd love to see. Obviously, bow shilling is certainly on your list, right? But that young 100%. Jaden Wendell from Valley City, he'd be fun to see in a boat with you. Yeah,
there's. I'll tell you what, hands down, you guys have some of the best anglers out there. Whether we talk about a Traver Deagle, whether we talk about Paulie Steffens, whether we talk about Chad Schilling or Bo Schilling, I mean, it goes on and on the list out there of anglers that are just absolutely phenomenal. And there's a bunch in that Watertown area. Tanner Thompson had traveled with me. The kid's very knowledgeable about everything. He's a great fisherman. So, no, there's definitely going to be a lot of guys that I piggyback on out there. We're going to do some stuff in Northeast South Dakota. I've got a great friend out there, Colonel Scott St. Saber, who also has.
Yeah. And he's gone, but he'll come back. You talk about some good young sticks, Riley Full, Braden Full,
I mean,
Brock Northam, they just won the Lake Area Walleye Championship on Oahe last weekend, and those boys, they came. There was one guy there that he was wearing a qualifier shirt from the NTC, and he was bitching because we're a freaking Glacial Lakes tournament or league, and what the heck are we doing out on a big river on a reservoir like this? And then you have guys that come in. Lubers did great. Tanner Thompson mowed TTM, and Mitch Lobin and Brady Will, and those guys did great. But to win the thing and to come in, Riley Full, Braden Full, and Brock Northam pulled a 13 in day one and a 14 on day two, and then they won the thing with 56 pounds. It was monumental, and they're going to join us next week on Between Hooksets.
I mean, we have the different fishing, right? You can go fish Lake Sharp, fish a river system.
And they fish different, which is really cool.
And you can go fish any of our Glacial Lake ponds. You can go fish Lake Oahe. Southern Lake Oahe fish is different than Northern Lake Oahe. I mean, there's 100 different things in South Dakota that you can learn right here that other states don't have, right? True. I mean, and we do build some of the greatest fishermen there is. I mean, Bo and Chad are taking a run at the National Walleye Trail next year, and
that's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun to watch, and these guys are now, Bo's been a reservoir kid his whole life, but he's going to figure it out. I mean,
it's going to be a test, right? To go to lakes and to go to true rivers, to pools, different things.
There's kids all up and down this place, and these young kids are incredible. And it's not taking from the older generation, because they are still very good fishermen.
Yeah.
And, the knowledge in Mark Kortz's head compared to, we'll just pick on Bo Schilling. I mean, there's so much, Bo's got a ton of time on the water. Not saying he's not very knowledgeable, but
it's different. It's different.
It's a different style. But I mean, going back, I know we had a question on who sets the schedule. Didn't mean to pass over the couple comments we got. We'll get back to them. Hopefully Mark will jump back on, but I don't really know. I think it's between the Federation and Cabela's. And I will tell you, from putting a schedule together, it's not just throw a body of water out there.
It ain't easy.
Some communities don't want you at that time of year. Some communities don't want it at all. I mean, you got 100 different things that play into the factor on how you get there. So I'm not necessarily discounting the deal, but I think what we're getting at is you need to spread it out. There's so many more that we're not even calling on. We're not even looking at.
And honestly, that's why I brought up, and I was joking about Dunvilla. Dunvilla is a cool little place over there by Detroit Lakes, and you've got some cool lakes, whether it's Crystal or Lida or Franklin. My God, there are 10,000 or is it 14,000 lakes? Whatever to choose from. You don't have a whole lot to choose from in North Dakota. You don't have a lot to choose from in South Dakota. Because I don't know that you're going to hold a National Walleye Tour event on Thompson. You're certainly not going to do it on Ponset. I'm bored with Bitter. I'd love to see Waubay. I think that would be fun. You've got other lakes up there like Lynn. You've got Opitz. You got all these other lakes, and I just don't know that they're worthy maybe of a 40-boat championship tournament, because there's monster fish in some of those lakes in there. But I mean, maybe they don't want them there either.
Let's pop up the MWC schedule here. I mean, look, we got Bitter on there. We have Devil's Lake. We have Cass Lake. I mean, that's a typical MWC schedule. I mean, Illinois River, kind of some of the same stuff they do. But look, Red Wing, I mean, they're
very typical.
But they're going to some of these bodies of water that we're talking about. Some of these smaller bodies of water that can hold a 40-boat championship. There is a ton of things. Like, they're going to the Mahonadu chain up in Alex.
Yeah,
what a great spot for a 40-team championship.
Right. Yeah,
because people don't even know what the Mahonadu chain. Some people do, but if you put Mahonadu chain, or you go up to the Chippewa flowage in Wisconsin, like, there's a ton of these different bodies of water that these championships could go to.
Yeah, Mac in Nebraska, McConaughey. It's just not the lake that it used to be. Well, I don't know what happened.
And some of it comes down to, because I've ran one on McConaughey, and it's a great lake. I don't know if it's really a lake for a big. I mean, I know they do the shut up and fish. I know they have a lot of big tournaments on there, but when we did regional on it, it was tough to have a spot to weigh fish in. It's kind of out there in the middle of absolutely nowhere. And
Water
like Mason,
level, okay,
like
okay.
Mason said, water level is an issue for Big Mac. I mean, that can fluctuate a lot in 1 year. You know, Mason and his family spent a lot of time down there,
Right.
so they know. I mean, that lake can fluctuate a ton because it's all water held for irrigation.
So how about, and Mason, you're watching, how about Kalmus Reservoir? Is that worthy of one? I mean, if you know Mac, you know Kalmus Reservoir.
You know, there's plenty, but I mean, like, and you get out to some of these western states like Wyoming, they don't let you bring fish in. Montana's getting that way. That's why it's all catch, measure, release. I mean, there's great fisheries out there, but I think, you know, like Court said, you're going too far east, you're going too far west. If we could figure out 3 tournaments out west, 3 tournaments out east, have a championship in the middle.
Oh, that's right. They're redoing the dam.
Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes it. You're right.
Harlan.
I was gonna bring up Kalmus.
I mean, you got a lot of different bodies of water down there. I mean, we don't even see those states on some, but like Bull Shoals, the PWT went to Bull Shoals back in the day. Go down to Arkansas. I mean, why not start your spring event down south?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I talk to guys. So I'm building a walleye. So it's spelled WALLI. I'm building a walleye radio show that is meant to be daily for 1 to 3 hours. Probably start with 1 hour here eventually. But the whole point of it is to talk to walleye guys or gals, those walleye anglers. I don't give a dang what state they're from. I was going to say damn, and I said dang, just to clean it up a tad. But who cares if somebody won a tournament in Arkansas, they won it in Texas, they won it in Kansas, Nebraska. I don't care. It's got to be a great story. And we're leaving walleye as a whole is leaving that on the table. So I hope that eventually here we're able to pick that up and give walleye a little bit more, a little bit more of the limelight and an opportunity to put more ears on everything that's going on in walleye.
Well, and I think, you know, Pigstown to Yankton could handle 40. I mean, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff out there that could pull in some good fishing, you know, and you can't always get the right time of year. You can't always get the right, you know, whatever weekends. There's only so many weekends in a year. I mean, you could start in March if you went to Bull Shoals, Arkansas. You know,
right, exactly. You could start a little earlier.
You know, you could do different things like that, and maybe we wouldn't draw. But I mean, we all know what April, anybody watching or anybody that is a walleye fisherman will tell you. When it comes March, April, we're itching to be back in a boat. Mm-hmm. So now you say we're going to Arkansas where it's a lot warmer and you can go fish.
I'd be damn excited to go to Arkansas just to watch.
Yeah.
You know, which honestly, it's a ton of fun. I did it in the beginning of my fishing tournament career in Through the Outdoors radio show, where I went to every National Walleye Tour event in Minnesota and North Dakota and South Dakota and Masters Walleye Circuit, whatever, NTC. And it was the coolest vacation. And I don't care if you're staying in Mobridge for the weekend or if you're going to Ottertail for the weekend. Ottertail is a little bit better because you could sit at Zorba's and have beer and eat pizza and just kind of be in heaven right there. I mean, that was just a ton of fun. But David Lancaster's got a comment there too, so let's pop that up. Yeah, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. I've got friends that moved down to New Mexico, Mike and Cheryl Sattler, and I'd absolutely love to go down and see him, and it would give me another reason to go to New Mexico. Yeah,
I mean, we have guys that ran the New Mexico Walleye League, the Texas Walleye Association. I mean, all these different events. There's guys that fish walleyes everywhere.
Yeah,
Tennessee.
Right
yeah.
I
mean, there's a bunch of different stuff, but we're so stuck to the Midwest. And I say that,
it's easy.
You know, I mean, because we're South Dakota based, but it's easy. We got the majority of the people here.
Right. But it's
and there's other things we can talk about going there, but, you know, Bull Shoals, I'd love to know how many bass events happen on Bull Shoals in the spring.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
You know,
I don't know that you can count them, really.
Yeah.
Glendo in Wyoming? Yeah.
But you got the catch, measure, release, different aspect. Can't bring them to shore. You know, there's...
But, Mark touched on that, though. You got the guys that are in it, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's the 40 guys that are in it that are traveling, they're going to every one of them. And if you can go from Lake Sharp to Dunkirk, then you could certainly go from Sharp or Dunkirk to Arkansas or to Kansas or New Mexico, whatever. That's what those guys do. That's what they live for. So who the hell cares, right?
But I
Just
mean,
go there.
So here's
something different.
Here's the problem with what the National Walleye Trail is set up. They need 125 boats to get to that full payout no entry championship.
But if you're
you're not pulling 125 touring guys.
It's not. No, of course not. It's not happening now either. So yeah, I get the argument. I know Mark is trying to come in, and it's just not happening. So we're kind of holding on, hoping to get there. Has to be on the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. No. And so my thing is, if you go to New Mexico, are you not going to find another 70 boats that are going to want to? Is that too many?
No, I mean, like that's the problem. Like James Welsh ran the New Mexico Walleye League, and he'd have like 10, 12 boats.
And that's it.
I mean, that's it.
I would expect it to be more, but I'm a knucklehead.
48, 58 fished them all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, you're trying to pull, do the math, a lot of guys, 80 some guys, not quite that many. I guess it's,
oh, wait. There we go.
40 and 58. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, see, you got to go to places you can draw. And that's why I think they keep going to, Lake Erie and all because they're drawing more people.
But the numbers are going down. And that, to me, it signals the necessity for change.
But Mark Courts. Oh, we got him back. We've been rambling, buddy.
No, I've been listening actually, and there's a lot of great points there. And you guys brought up some great fisheries. Honestly, with a 40 boat field, let's go for a championship. Let's go to Columbia River. I mean, it is known as the largest walleyes in the country. McConaughey.
Yeah,
right. Bull Shoals, is honestly probably one of the best fisheries I've ever been to. And now that we know what we know, I can only imagine the weights we pull out of Bull Shoals. We can go on and on about the bodies of water. And I listened to a blurb that Tom Wynn brought up, and he's like, let's spread the love. Like, let's go to some of these cool bodies of water. And he's actually from that Arkansas area. So that's what all we're asking is, like, broaden the horizon. We're not saying you have to do it all in 1 year, but add a couple of those cool fisheries that, are just going to be something different that we're just not all accustomed to. It's going to separate some of the field, and it's really going to just change walleye fishing once again. And there's a couple things that, we brought up during this conversation that would change walleye fishing. Number one, I'm 100% fine with a cutoff period. The biggest argument that, whether it be the National Walleye Tour or the Federation, wants to say is we can't police that. Let us anglers police that. We know who's on the water. It's pretty obvious. Guys know, they get told on. That's not an issue, right? So let's have a cutoff period, have a 4-day practice. Guys that have a job, let's be honest, 90% of the guys that are in walleye fishing now have 95% of the guys that are in walleye fishing now have full-time jobs or own their own businesses. Okay, fine. Let's start practice on a Saturday. You can travel on a Friday. You don't have to give up that work week. You can get there, fish, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, off day on Wednesday for everybody just to get prepared for the tournament. Thursday, Friday, you can be home with your family on Saturday. So those are just some of the things. And the other thing I really think needs to happen to really separate walleye fishing from just the average anglers out there fishing today. And we've got enough baits. Enough companies are building baits. It would force companies to build better baits, but bring artificial only. And I think there's enough baits out there now that we can do it very productively. And I think there's enough technology. And, the other frustrating thing to us anglers is we're the only national tour that still doesn't have live coverage. So, and I'm not saying you have to have a ton of live coverage, but a couple times a day, maybe somebody pop on and give some reports from the lake to keep the fan base interested and let them know what's going on, whether it's a weather system or whether it was a cold front or whether the fish are biting, whether the fish aren't biting. So just the small things that go a long ways. I mean, Robert Cardenas has done one heck of a job really promoting walleye fishing for the National Walleye Tour. He's basically, I think, hands down, probably kept it alive more than anything else, but he does just a great job. And I can't thank Robert enough for doing all the photography and things that he does. So, and the videos. I mean, he's up before most of us in the morning, and he's up later than us editing videos to get them out the next day. So all that plays into it, and that's just the frustrating thing. You know, we've had this in the past. Myself, Scott Stile, and Jason Shakurt had On the Water Live back before anybody knew what live coverage was. And you know, back then it was hard because we didn't have the cell service we have today. Tom Wynn's doing it again. I might try doing it, you know, here in the future, but the National Walleye has a rule that we can't reboot our stream once we lose it, which is frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you want more eyes watching the sport that you're trying to promote and get more? There's small things that go a long ways that are just frustrating. So you know, it's one of those things that I want to promote the sport more than anybody out there, and give me the tools to do it, and I'll try to do it.
Well, so now, didn't the Federation get a new marketing gal? So I think some things are going to change there a little
Bass
bit. Maybe
Pro did.
Is it Bass Pro that did? I thought it was the Walleye Federation.
You know, I mean, there's I don't know for sure. I heard that rumor that Bass Pro got a new marketing girl, but I mean, there's 100 things, you know, and like, you know, don't take this a bad way, but you're taking over a TV show. But, you know, Jason here always says we have TV right here, YouTube. I mean, a lot of people watch stuff on YouTube. You don't have to have it televised 3, 4, 6, 8, 10 months after the event. People have already forgot about it. Let's get on it now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's get on it now. And
yeah, we've all got a channel now. I mean, we, you know, so we got to use it. We use it, but we need to use it more.
Yeah. And you got to get the anglers to bite into it. And I think the other thing is, you know, you watch the bass side of things and they just spill their guts. They don't care. Hey, you know, like Florida this year, Polinick's in a canal throwing baits to the other guys.
Yeah.
We wouldn't see that in walleye.
No. And I wonder if that won't change a little bit. I'm really going to hang my hat on Jaden Wendell, because that kid was out there in the crowd and he was telling people what he was doing, how he was doing it. When somebody asked a question, he gave a true answer, and his dad said, "Listen to Jaden. He's completely different than a lot of these other walleye guys, and he's just spilling his guts, telling them how they're going to get it done." And I think he, at an age of 18, understands that just because I'm telling all of my secrets, and maybe he's not telling them all, you know, maybe keep one or two, right? I mean, you got to keep some of your secrets because they're your secrets. But just the general knowledge of catching fish that day. Yeah, bingo. Yeah, crappie tea. Yeah, right, Tom. You know, this kid is truly amazing. He's from North Dakota too, so, you know, another North Dakota boy. And I mean, he's just got it going on. I'm pumped for the kid, and I'm pumped for Bo. I brought up to Bo. I said, "You and Jaden Wendell need to fish," and I didn't get a chance to explain to Bo that I wasn't talking about, you know, you need to go head to head to see who's the best. I wanted them to fish together to get to know each other and to be, you know, one hell of a walleye fishing duo. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, we were talking about, we cut out like the bass guys, like you watch Polinick down in Florida throw bait to another guy right on live TV and said, "This is what I'm using." We don't see that in the walleye world. It's such a secretive deal. You know, it's so tough.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we all enjoy, you know, at the end of the tournament talking to each other and really, you know, breaking down what we learned, or, you know, and there's some guys that I chit chat throughout the week with, and we just talk about what's happening or what they're seeing. And so there is some of that. It's great to see these young anglers like a Bo. I mean, Bo I've known since, I don't know, he was freaking probably in diapers, but you know, the kid grew up around walleye fishing. He knows walleye fishing more than a lot of guys, and he spent more time on the water. And one thing his dad will tell you is that Bo guides during the day. Chad hasn't given him a thing, but when he gets done guiding, Bo and Ben jump in the boat and they go out fishing, you know, to learn. And so Bo's really taught himself a lot. But I'll tell you, you know, between Chad and Garrett McCumsey and guys like that, Bo couldn't have grown up around any better walleye anglers, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean, he's had some of the best teachers in the country. Garrett was one of the first guys that really understood, you know, 2D sonar, whether we talk about some of the old sonar technology that guys used to use way back in the day. But I mean, those guys had it figured out in the Dakotas, and we can go back a long ways and talk about Mike McClelland and some of the greats from the Dakotas that honestly taught us so much. Bob Propp Senior. We like on and on and on and on about good anglers out there.
Yeah, well, we got to add
Steer.
Jim Randash.
Jim Randash.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's just all these different people that have, developed this stuff and not taking the old times, not saying the old times were better. I think there was good times back in the PWT days. We can all admit that. And then there was also the bad times as well. I mean, every circuit kind of goes through this and, everybody's got a new idea or the next big thing but I think it comes down to one, being honest with your anglers, being transparent with them and not hiding or pointing over them, get a good schedule. And we can't all be perfect on the schedules because it's tough, and listening to what they have to say and taking it in as, is taking it as heart and covering it. Get coverage out there. I like to hang our hat a little bit, and I don't want to knock anybody else, but I mean, me and this guy right here have done more walleye coverage this year live than any other walleye event there is on a minimum income. And we're sending links like we did to Mark tonight to walleye fishermen on their cell phone. I mean, that's all we're doing, and we're bringing them live.
Yep. And I mean, we were in the little town of Akaska, and the guys that put on that tournament did a great job. They had Starlink out there. I mean, in a town where you have zero coverage, they actually had a live feed up, so we could tell what guys were catching. And, it was kind of a cool format to bring fish in at different hours and win some money. So, yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. I'm sick of hearing people say, well, we can't do it. You can do whatever you want to do. You just got to put your mind to it. And it might take a little bit more elbow grease, and it might take a little bit more money, but in the long run, it's going to pay dividends, and it's going to be better for everybody, whether it's the anglers, whether it's the tournament association, or it doesn't matter. The communities, everything. The more stuff we get out there, the more the communities are blessed with anglers coming into their communities because they've seen something happening, or whether it's, the tournament organization looking really good because they produce something really good.
Yeah. I mean, and you got to get the anglers, I think for the most part, the anglers are on board. I mean, if I came to you and said, Mark, while you're doing the National Walleye Trail on day 2, I'll control everything and you just fish, you're going to do it in a second.
100%.
I mean, you're going to do it in a second where you can actually have, head to head. Prime example. They did great live coverage. A lot of money went into it, but I mean, if we talked earlier, you're talking about, getting a Starlink, and you do these things, and now we can get coverage. But, I watched Tom Winsdale, and he did a great job out on Dunkirk. But you got to talk, you got to have something, because I can't sit there and listen to wind noise for 8 hours in your day either. You know what I mean? Like, you got to entertain.
Totally understand that. Yep, 100%. And that, that's something that a lot of the walleye guys don't understand. They get a camera guy in the boat, and they stay focused on their electronics and what they're trying to do. But in all honesty, it's one of those things, like, that's part of your job. And I struggle, and a lot of us struggle with it being called the National Walleye Tour. And this is I'm not like beating up any anglers, but when you walk on that stage, present yourself well. You'll never see me with a grungy white t-shirt, my hat on sideways, or, cut off jeans or stained jeans or whatever it may be. Typically, you're going to see me whether I'm at a rules meeting, I'm going to have dress slacks on or dress shorts. They're going to be clean. My shirt's going to be clean. And I'm going to try to present myself well to my sponsors and the fans out there, and try to talk like, I want to tell them what I'm doing. I mean, the world's too small to try to hide something. It's going to get found out. You might as well be the one that leads it out and take credit for it. And I just think that's a huge part of it.
I mean, let's go back, even back, good, bad, and ugly, even back in the day. If something happened in an event, it wasn't long before the anglers knew about it. PWT days when we didn't have the internet and we didn't have this stuff. Now something happens at an event and people know immediately what happened.
100%. Yep. And it doesn't matter if it's a tournament or at a local tournament. It doesn't matter anymore. Social media has done a couple things. Granted, it's spread a lot of good word, and there's a lot of good people with social media, but it's also spread a lot of bad stuff. So social media is kind of a double-edged sword, but yeah, it's the one way we all communicate. The unfortunate part is our youth today, that's the only way they know how to communicate is through a phone. They can't talk in front of a group of people. They can't get up and do a seminar. And that's one of the things I'll tell any kid that really wants to get into the sport. And Bo is probably good at it just because he's grown up around people all the time and that he's had to talk to clients and things like that. But being able to communicate on stage is the biggest thing, and presenting yourself well, whether it's somebody you know or whether it's somebody you don't know. When I'm at a gas station, and that's one of the arguments I'll have with Bass about, their non-getting any information rule. It's so tough to go to a gas station and have a local walk up to you and want to talk fishing, and you have to stop them and say, I can't talk to you about fishing. How does that make us look? It makes the anglers look like a bunch of jackwagons.
I got a perfect story about that. When the Elite Series was here in Spring Creek, a buddy of mine was out fishing, and he goes, I pulled up to the dock, and I don't remember what angler it was. I can't remember at this point, but he said, I pulled up, started talking with him, and he goes, he was the biggest jackass in the world. And I said, why was he a jackass? He goes, well, he was great. And I told him, go over here and catch. This is where I caught some smallies. And he just said, I can't talk to you anymore, and backed away from the dock. And I explained to the guy that he wasn't being a jackass. That put him in jeopardy of that tournament.
Being DQ'd.
Right. That put him in jeopardy of being DQ'd from that tournament. And he goes, oh, so he had a different limelight on it when that was said, right? Like,
yep.
We got a couple more live coverage, sell more baits, boats, equipment, 100%. We got a question here. Do you feel that catch photo release tournament could draw a crowd with the weigh-ins?
Okay. And I'm going to walk on thin ice here with catch photo and release tournaments. Honestly, I can tell you from personal experiences, handling fish, is catch photo and release better than bringing fish to the scale? In my opinion, this is only my opinion, no. Here's a simple reason why. And people will argue this, and I'm probably going to get yelled at from a lot of different angles. But if you have to try to put a fish on a measuring board, get that fish to lay still, and every quarter inch makes a difference. Okay? I have to take a picture. It's 90 degrees out. My ruler's been laying in the bottom of my boat. I just brought that fish up. I don't care how deep. Is that fish going to survive?
Probably
That's
not.
my only argument.
Yeah.
Coming out of 50-degree water, if you're pulling them out of 50 foot of water, putting them on a board that's probably 120 degrees in the sun, right?
Yeah, and I'm not blaming the circuits. I'm not blaming the anglers. I'm just giving you my opinion on catch, photo, and release tournaments. AIM has done a great job for our sport. Not going to disagree with that. I think they run a very good tournament. Danny Fox does a great job. Not saying anything against that. I'm just telling you from my experiences, that's what's going to happen. Now, okay, then I fished the Champions Tour. My great friend Scott Bonema built the Champions Tour. I fished it. It was phenomenal. Catch, weigh, and release. We have a marshal in the boat, which was a high school kid that got to learn from us. We had a lot of fun with those marshals. It was a learning experience for them. They seen how we broke down the waters, and it worked. Now, can we do that in a team circuit? It's tough to get marshals. I get that. But there's enough high school programs. Every one of those kids that jumped in our boats at a Champions Tour event was given a $100 bill in the morning. Then Scott and his wife, Nancy, literally donated tens of thousands of dollars to youth fishing at the end of the year. So, is that an option? Absolutely. Does it cost money? Absolutely. But is that the most ethical way of doing a tournament where we have slots? Absolutely. Can you do it in a team tournament? Yes. I mean, there's a lot of apps out there, whether we talk about Fish Donkey or whether we talk about the Real Live Well app, where I can actually take a video of a scale. Now, the problem is with scales. If you go to hundredths, you're never going to get them to lock in rough water. If you go to pounds and ounces, it's better, but it's still tough to get them to lock in. So we have to figure out a system where we can literally keep those fish out of the water for less than, I'm going to say 20 to 25 seconds, 30 seconds at max. Get a photo of a scale with the fish on the scale, go from head to toe or, head to tail, and make sure that those fish are getting released properly. That's the only way this is going to work. Otherwise, we might as well bring them to the scale, donate them to the local food shelf, or donate them to a homeless food shelter, whatever it is. I don't care, because when we're at a tournament, very few of us keep walleyes. And honestly, the 2 days that we're going to keep walleyes during a tournament or a 3-day championship, it's not hurting your fishery.
No.
They're donating to a good cause. They're going to a good cause, and they're going to get taken care of, and somebody's going to enjoy them.
Well, and when you're out doing that tournament, you are not catching a 3-day limit per person and keeping it, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is, like, you
got two anglers. You got two anglers. So
right.
Now we're splitting that 5-fish limit in our boat between two anglers. So literally we're taking about a half a limit a day. So in the 2-day tournament, we're going to keep 2 limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, like, you talk about the marshals, and, we do top 5 marshals in the Gov Cup, have for 10 plus years now. And I started going to high school kids, my nephew and his buddies, and they are like so jacked. They pay him $100 a day to ride in the boat. Them boys, my sister-in-law called me and she goes, I drove 2 hours back to Platte and they couldn't stop talking about next year. They were so pumped that they got to ride around those boats. The kid who rode with Chad and Sam, like, they're like, he was more excited when we catch fish than we were.
Right.
Like these, they were so pumped. My nephew came in, he rode with Bo on day 2, and he was like shaking when he came off the water because it was such a great day.
Exactly. And honestly, that's what it's really about.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great thing. And Chad's like, I would love to see 45, 50, 100 of them. I love to see everybody with the Marshall. I said, I would too. It's hard to do the 200 boat tournament, but we stick with 5 works. Yeah, it'd be a Marshall.
And I don't
free.
know, maybe we get a I don't care. It doesn't have to be a fishing association. Maybe it's a trap shooting club, something outdoor related, or it's a baseball association, or it's a football association. That can be their fundraiser. Maybe each kid gets $100 and we donate $1,000 or $2,000 or $2,500 to their baseball or hockey or football or whatever it may be. But that's the only way that we're going to be able to create a tournament in these slot areas where we're catch and release, and it's going to be honest.
Yeah.
Yep. True. Yep.
Well, and I mean, I think, talking about the catch and release and even catch weigh in and release, I think some of our states are, South Dakota, I'll say it out loud, is behind. We got to kill these fish on every body of water after June 1st up to September 15th. I don't agree with that. I think we could, I agree there's deep water hooking, agree the warm live wells aren't that great. But when they put that law in effect, half the guys had a cooler as a live well. They don't have the technology that's behind the live wells we do nowadays. And you can't tell me if we go to Bitter Lake on July 17th that fish we caught in 4 foot of water isn't in the same water temp as in our live well.
I can remember being at Mobridge in 2006. I was lucky enough to win that tournament, but it was like 115 degrees, and we were at the what was the not convenience store, but what was the little
Sure How Arena?
No, we were at one of the retailers there. It was like a farm
running
store. It was like a Runnings, yeah. But we were on their parking lot. It was 115 degrees. I mean, we had to keep those fish alive. So we did everything it took. And I caught my fish deep. I mean, I was way down by the 212 fishing in the trees. I did everything I could. I mean, I had bags of ice. I had coolers full of ice to keep that water cool, to maintain those fish. We've got better technology than we even had back then. But there's ways to do it, guys. I mean, like, I get that there's some release mortality. If you put them in a tank and they come up, fine. Cut the sides off them, donate them to a great cause. At the end of the day, nobody's going to have an issue.
Well, so the thing that drives me nuts about it, and I'm just a radio guy, I'm not a tournament guy. So I'm just one of those fishermen that looks at fish wanting to go back in the lake. If you're going to catch 500 fish in a tournament, I'm just saying 500 and that's one day, right? You got 5 fish for 100 boats, 125 boats, 500 fish, and 200 survive. That's 200 fish surviving that would have been killed anyway. So why not let the 200 fish live?
Well, Chad Schilling always says, he goes, if I guarantee they have a chance you put them back in the water, I can promise you they don't have a chance when you put a fillet knife in them.
True. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, think about all these 16, 17, 18, 19-inch fish that could go back. They seem to survive better in a live well, right?
Yeah.
They could go back and they could be swimming and become bigger fish. I just don't see anything wrong with it.
I mean, there's 100 different aspects on that. I mean, I've worked on game fishing parks for years now to say, let's relook at this, but it falls on deaf ears sometimes. And, I mean, I just think there's things out there, going back to live coverage, we're a lot further along than we were, even when head-to-head started. We didn't have Starlink. We have Starlink now. It's really reasonable to get a Starlink. It's not that expensive.
Yep.
We could all have a mobile Starlink in our boat. It takes very little power to run it. And it honestly, you can get service any freaking where.
Yeah. I mean, we pull everything we do. We have Starlink on the trailer. I mean, that's what we're running on tonight. We have Starlink everywhere we go. And it's been amazing. And if I get anglers that get it, that want to be on film, we'll put them on film. And I think if we were on your level, we would have so many guys knocking on our door wanting that. I mean, I know, like I said, you would take it in a heartbeat. If I said, I'll cover you every event, Mark, you're going to take that in a heartbeat because your sponsors, and like I told a guy, you can go to your sponsors now and say, look at how much airtime I have, and I'll pick up National Walleye Trail. How much time does Mark Courts get airtime unless you do well?
Yep.
Hardly anything.
Hardly anything. You got the wrong sponsors on your jersey. And I mean, and that's what I look at Bassmasters, and they don't care who you're sponsored by. They're covered.
Yeah, they want the eyeballs, they want the ears and the eyes, and it makes a ton of sense.
I mean, that we can go back to the PWT days. They were really good about it. They created characters, right? I mean, there's a lot of guys that have careers today or had careers in the fishing industry because they had a good personality, because they were great on stage, because they were great in the boat. We can go on and on, guys that really taught a lot of people on how to fish. And that's one of the things that the Linders were very good at back in the day is teaching the anglers how guys broke down the water and what they were using. And that's one of the things that we've really gotten away from. I mean, we can look at a television production and say, yep, we watched, I don't care who we talk about, going across the stage and they weighed in their fish. But we don't get back to the nuts and bolts of how, Robert Cardenas is doing that now, breaking that down and showing us how the anglers caught the fish. And that's one of the things that I think is the most important thing at the end of the day. If we can go to a body of water, teach people how to catch fish, and the fish get donated to a local community, and the anglers are all friendly to the local community, they'll want us back. And that's what it's about in the long run. And that's just one of the things that's missing right now.
I mean, FLW days, you had to be at stores at certain times.
100%. Well, I did Walmart. We did Walmarts. We did Chevy dealerships. We did Dakota Marts. We did any place we were in a town. We were expected a couple times a week to show up and represent our sponsors somewhere, have our boats cleaned, have our trucks cleaned. And granted, we were treated very well back in those days. I was lucky enough to be with the National Guard in Berkeley on 2 different occasions, and both of those treated me very well, and you know, I've made great friends over the years because of that.
I mean, like you said, that picture we pop that picture up again, Brian. That,
which one? Oh,
the media. That was a
this one here.
Military event the day after the tournament.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
and I mean, we stayed after, and we took guys fishing. It was like a little mini tournament, and we had 2 soldiers from that local area, and it was an absolute blast. And I still do that today. My great friend Scott St. Sauber and myself created Trolling for Troops up here at Camp Ripley, where we take out 50 current serving soldiers and 50 veterans, and we pair them up with guides, and we have guides on the Mississippi River. Camp Ripley's lucky enough to have 16 miles of uninhabited Mississippi River, so you got guys in jet boats. Eric Altena and his gang take guys out there, and then myself and Mike Warden kind of line up a group of guys to go out to Mille Lacs Lake, and we go fishing for the day. And for a lot of these guys, that's their only time they ever get out fishing, and they've never caught fish, you know, that many fish in a day. And for me to give that little bit back to the freedom I have today, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, I've got a good fishing buddy, Chad Holland, that was with the National Guard when the National Guard was sponsoring. And my God, that guy's got stories about who he fished with, who he met, what he did, the people that they helped. It was amazing. And I'm like, well, why don't they do that today? You know,
Yep.
So it was cool. It was fantastic.
I mean, and we've done these things and we just forget about, it's like
Right.
Sometimes we forget about the stuff that works, you know.
Well, we try.
So-
I mean, you know, everybody's busy in this world, and I get it, but take a little bit of extra time, make things better. You know, I get it that it's out of your way to get a trailer to BFE when you got another tournament the following week at BFE. Well, that's not my problem. Hire another crew or get more people, spend a little money, and make it right. And it goes a long ways. Anglers are happy, communities are happy, the fans are happy, everybody's happy.
I mean, I remember going to the FLW in the Walmart parking lot up here, and there was 100 and some degrees, and there's just people lined up everywhere watching that weigh-in. Now,
Yep.
I mean, we watch Pier always shows out for events. You know, we were down there in the pouring rain and hardly anybody left. But I mean,
Yep.
that was a show. That was a show when you showed up.
PWT too. I mean, I can remember going out of Beulah Hazen, and I mean, they basically had a little carnival set up and food vendors and I mean, well, Akaska. I mean, look at the days that Akaska used to put on their Walleye Festival weekend. I think we're going to see it probably next year. I think that event was good enough when we were out there here a couple weeks ago or a month ago already now. That next year, that AFCO deal in Akaska is going to be giant. They're going to have live bands. They're going to have tents on Main Street, and they're going to make it a big deal. And that, you know, when you go to these little communities, some of those communities, that's the biggest thing that happens all year. And it's amazing. You know, I hunt out in Erickson, Nebraska, in a little community where the whole county has 68 people up in the Sandhills. But while we're there hunting, these guys put on dog races, and we got people from 5 states coming to race greyhounds and Irish wolfhounds and all these dogs, and everybody backs their truck up to the alfalfa field, and we have dog races, and it's fun to see that type of stuff in these small communities and things people do.
Yeah, speaking of the cask, I remember going up there for the Blackhawk concert during that tournament.
Oh my!
I mean, they had Blackhawk playing there one year. I mean, like,
well, there you have it.
Rodeo. I mean, a bunch of anglers jumped on bulls one year.
yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, they had a rodeo going on the same time, and anglers were getting on the bulls. Yeah,
I think Tom Gatsky and Jesse Beadle jumped on bulls.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I hope that AFCO thing comes back next year because I'm fishing it. I just want to fish it. I don't care if I catch big fish. It looked like it was a ton of fun.
It was absolutely awesome. Everybody in the community, Jerry Beadle and the Shillings, everybody had their garages open at night, and we all just walked from garage to garage and talked fishing, and I mean, the town was packed. It was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
I sat in my hotel room and talked to the neighbor at the hotel, Chad and Shonda's hotel there in town, and talked to my neighbor. They were new to really basically fishing out there, and they wanted to talk electronics. I sat there for hours talking to them about electronics. That's the fun part of the sport. We all get hung up on, competing and doing this, that. It's the other side of the business that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly correct. And I mean, we were up there. I went up there Thursday night and ran into you with that AFCO deal, and we were in Schilling's garage. It looked like a chop shop on a boat, but they had sawzalls and grinders out trying to get Sam's boat ready. But I mean, there was like a NASCAR pit crew tearing apart that boat. And I mean, but everybody was in there. There were so many people that just came over and were hanging out, BSing, and having a great time. And nobody was making anybody feel uncomfortable. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody's there for the same reason. And that was
the only thing that was wrong that night is you wrote people checks and you didn't write me one.
Well, you got to come fish the Governor's Cup.
Oh, is that what the deal was?
Yeah.
I thought you were just handing out money.
No, so Chad, Bo wins it. Bo and Ben win it. Chad and Sam get second. Chad gets so mesmerized by the trophies that he left all his checks. I called him. He was at McCumsey's house, and I said, dude, you forgot your checks. And he's like, I said, swing by. You're going to come right by on your way home. I'll give you your checks. Man, I just got mesmerized. Maybe we'll do that. Don't hear from him again. He calls me on like Tuesday and goes, hey, I just was informed we didn't get our checks.
Hey, I have to ask you a question though. On that Friday, me and Traver were down south by the 212 bridge, just looking around, and all of a sudden you pulled up in a boat and there was something in the front of that boat. I don't know what it was, but it was the scariest sight I had ever seen.
Hey, that again, we're gonna have to get charged here. That was your boy. That was your boy, Betty. It got pretty white out, didn't it?
Oh boy. Yeah, it did. That kid needs to see some sun. They make tanning booths, Betty Spies. I hope you're listening.
I love you, Benny.
Oh, I'm gonna have to call him to watch the show tonight. So, Mark, man, it's been great. You've got a big day tomorrow. We appreciate all your time. We'll have to get another one when you're not traveling, and there's many more things we can talk about with you. So we appreciate everything. We appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. I had a blast, and like I said, I'm free to do it anytime you guys want to do it. Just give me a call. Sorry about my connections tonight. I'm just on a short schedule, and we're trying to get from point A to point B.
That happens, great, buddy. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
Thank you, man.
Thanks for the 90 minutes. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.